Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me directly through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is an internationally syndicated show solely due to the love and support that you all continue to show. We're available across all major podcast distributors, and like I mentioned, people, if you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in because we are delighted to showcase this next guest on our network. And on the line with us today, we have the impressive Clark Selby. Now we're going to be discussing Clark's amazing book, Dangerous Journey, Book 1. Now, people, trust me when I tell you, man, Clark has a lot in store. He has 11 other books that you're going to want to check out. Man, he is quite the individual, okay? It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's ClarkSelbyJr.com. Head on over there, check out all of his amazing books, because like I mentioned, man, and there's 12 of them, and hopefully many more on the horizon. See, you're going to want to get yourself involved, all right? Again, that's ClarkSelbyJr.com. And people, it is a true pleasure to have Clark here on the line. Man, trust me when I tell you, this is one you need to add to your shelf. What starts as an adrenaline-fueled escape turns into a nightmare when two scientists unwittingly become pawns in a terrorist plot on America. With 10 iconic landmarks in the crosshairs and millions of lives at stake, only one man sees the truth, and unfortunately, he happens to be a rogue CIA analyst whose theory is so outrageous, even his own agency won't listen to him. Man, like I said, sit back, strap in, buckle up, because Dangerous Journey is a high-octane thriller where betrayal burns hotter than engine oil and the stakes couldn't be more explosive. This is one destined for the Hollywood screen, but it's gonna start by blessing your bookshelves. You know where to go to pick up your copies. Clark, first and foremost, man, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Well, Clark, listen, man, this is a true pleasure to have you here with us, man. As I mentioned, you are quite the individual, man. Your background, your canon, whew. Man, listen, this is, you're leaving something to be admired here. 11, 12 books, hopefully many more on the horizon. Listen, this is gonna be fun, right? Your book, Dangerous Journey, in the series that it culminates into is a non-stop page turner. And I know it's something my listening audience is really gonna love, gravitating towards. First and foremost, before we go into this magnificent book and all of your other books, Clark, start by telling us a little bit more about yourself and your background, please.
Well, my background actually was in the parking business. And I got to writing books because my wife, Pat, became paralyzed when I was working in Seoul, Korea. And I had to fly back home, and my sons, Michael and Robert, had called me, and I flew home, and then we worked to try to get her working better and doing better. But then I became her full-time caregiver, and the thing that got me doing books was I had never expected to write books. I wrote a book about our own life, and that was the beginning of my book writing. I never expected to be a so-called author. So, and from there, I started writing different books, and I certainly started writing the CIA books because I traveled and worked in some 80-some countries in my life, and traveling all over the world and working in different cities. And so I was used to doing that type of thing, and I knew a lot about the cities that I write about. So
Well, let me tell you something here, Clark. You mentioned you never considered yourself a writer. Well, I'm here to tell you, listen, you've written 12 books, okay? You are a bona fide author, okay? We're here to tell you that in your books are truly something to be admired, all right? Now, let's jump right in because, of course, like I mentioned, this is a series, so there's a lot still on the horizon. But let's start off with the one that began the series, Dangerous Journey, Book 1. Tell us more about your fantastic book.
Well, Dangerous Journey is a book that talks about these two atomic scientists that work for the government, U.S. government, and they decided they wanted to get away from their work for a while, and they were going to do a car race from Moscow to Beijing. And it was a wonder the government would let them even think about going on this trip. And so what happened to them as they were going on this trip, they wound up going with some friends and they got kidnapped and off of a ship, and they killed all the people that were on the ship. And one of the scientists escaped. And they had the CIA had already began looking into this and found that these people had been taken captive. And so that was really where it all began for them to try to find the other ones. And of course, in the meantime, the one that had gotten away found where these people were being held, and he got captured. So the CIA had to do a lot of work at that point to try to find where these people were located.
I'm curious to know, man, where you mentioned your travels, and I'm sure that, of course, had influenced. You mentioned Al Qaeda, which, of course, a real-life terrorist group. Well, was there any real-life events or people that inspired your narrative, or any intelligence failure, anything along those lines, anything that you saw that helped enhance or even influence this novel?
Not really. I didn't have any, I had no knowledge of such a thing. Let's put it that way. But that was basically dreamed up from my standpoint, as far as I know. And I don't know of any real things that went on in the world of these people. And actually, if there was a group called that name, I don't know. As far as I know, I made that name up.
People, again, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's ClarkSelbyJr.com. Head on over there today. Get lost in all of these amazing books. Remember, there are 12 of them things, okay? So you got plenty of opportunities to pick up your copies and just get lost. And I promise you, there is more than enough to keep you occupied, okay? Head on over there today. Get lost in these amazing books. Clark, I'm curious, man, for my next question, throughout this process, what would you say was probably the most difficult part of this writing? Was there a particular scene that was maybe a little harder to write than you were intending initially or even expecting prior to embarking upon the journey?
I would say that at the end, when the people were the CIA had these people who thought they were all home free, then suddenly they were taken to a secret CIA location and began going through and actually found out some of the things that were happening in the background that the other people didn't realize even. And so it was quite a different things that happened to them, and after they thought they had this all problem solved, that they saved the world, at least in America, from the standpoint of having these bombs, so they were never designated. But then there was things that happened with some of these people that were involved that actually were not so nice and innocent.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
listen.
that's really was a twist to it when we got to I would say, toward the end of the book. That some of the relationships were not what they were seemed to be. And sometimes that's a hard thing to understand. It's a hard thing to realize that someone that you were so close to was doing things that was beyond what the other one would think that was possible.
Clark, as we start to close out of here, man, listen, I'm trying not to assume so much here, but of course, given your background in the parking industry, you work with cars. Cars is what you know. Well, I'm curious to know, man, picking a Corvette out of all cars that could have been involved in this novel, I want to know, man, was it an arbitrary pick, or is there a certain appeal? Is a Corvette maybe your favorite car? Talk to us a little bit more about why that car had a particular appeal to you.
Well, in the first place, it was a very unique car that General Motors made. Mm-hmm. It had a very limited buyers because they were expensive, they were hard. They were not a car that I actually ever wanted to own. I admired them, but they weren't very practical from my standpoint. Yeah. I got one that I got my convertible later, and it was one from another company from a different world. So right now I can't even tell you the name of it. But it was I got my Corvette at one time or another, even though it had a different name. So that was kind of the thing about it. And I admired the Corvettes, and certainly they've lasted for a long time, and they continued to make them for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably the reason that I chose that particular vehicle, because it was strictly an American car that was unique to itself, and it lasted for a lot of years in production. And I thought that was admirable. So that's the reason I chose that in my book, for them to be having to do their race with. So.
Well, Clark, as I mentioned a number of times here throughout this interview, you've written 12 books, right? And 6 are in this particular Dangerous series, right? I mean, listen, people, in all of these series, we have Dangerous Food, Dangerous Cargo, Dangerous Enemy, Dangerous Mission. There's a lot of danger.
What is danger out there in the world, man?
What is the connecting through line through all of the books in the series?
The connecting is the CIA agent, actually, Tom Parker. He is the connection for all of the books. In the first few, he was not maybe the principal, but he was in every one of the books. And as we went along, he got to be more of the principal one in the book. So, and that's the one that I put all my hopes in, and to do all the right things to stop whoever is an enemy of America. So, and he will continue to be, even though he's really old now. He's still, the president calls him to have him come and take care of anything that needs to be taken care of, whether it's ever publicized or not. So poor Tom gets all the calls. from the President of the United States, and he will continue to throughout my book series, and I plan to write 10 of them. So I've got the 7th one is well underway, and so I only have a few more to make my 10. I got to keep living to make them, though.
Well, listen, Clark, man, honestly, I really do mean this. You are a true inspiration, okay? Because what I take from all of this and all of that you've just said is beyond how remarkably impressive it all is. You are a testament, man, to the only limitation really being ourselves, right? The only limitation we have is what we place on ourselves. When it comes to your writing, you've proven that the only limitation that you have is your imagination. And let me tell you, man, you got that in spades, brother. You know what you're doing, and these books are incredible. So people, I'm going to say it for you one last time before I let you go. Remember, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's ClarkSelbyJr.com. There is a lot happening just in the Dangerous series alone. But remember, he's got a bunch of other books that you're going to want to get your hands on as well. Check back in frequently because there's so much more on the horizon, and you want to get your copies. I promise you, you're not going to be able to put them down. Clark, this has been a true pleasure, man, an absolute delight and such an honor. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you very much for my opportunity to speak with you. Enjoyed it. Thank you.